This is Marlon M. Jenkins reading Against Cleansing. If cleansing be needed for me to be clean, I cling then to the grime, the grit of sand under my nails, not interested in the fire necessary to make glass. I cling to hair grease and skin oil, the fat seasoned into the skillet. I want to survive the holy fire as impure as marbling through good meat, mixed as vinaigrette on leaves of lettuce and spinach. Let us see sometimes a little less clearly. You can choose to be the diamond cut into symmetry, rinsed of blood. I'd rather be the coal stuck in the walls of your lungs. About this poem. This poem explores something I think about often: how language that's typically either positive or neutral can be recontextualized into instances of oppressive violence, settle, defense, ethnic cleansing. And if poems can do anything during times of witnessing active genocide, maybe they can be moments in which and through which to reevaluate, to rally, to resist, to spit in the face of attempts at erasure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of Dylan Box. So we have here Bob Dylan and the band, the Basement Tapes Raw. This is Bootleg Series Volume 11. And if you get the CDs, you're going to get pretty much everything.
Yeah,
they did over 100 songs that they recorded, and it's like if anyone did that, that would just be their career, maybe.
Oh, sure.
This is like a summer. This is 6 months.
Yeah, they just crank these things out. One
Yeah.
of the things that when I first bought the Basement Tapes, the 2 CD thing, I was really kind of clueless about the history of
Yeah.
it. And Greil Marcus writes a great
Yes. He has
essay.
a whole book on it.
Yeah,
too,
it's a
I
whole
think.
book.
Yeah.
He loves the Basement
Yes,
Tapes.
Yes.
And at the beginning, you would just, maybe the first time going through, you read the thing and then you hear these songs and there are these very raggedy
Yes.
pieces. And you're thinking, maybe Greil Marcus is a little goofy. And just, even Dylan will say that about
Yeah.
him. He goes, he makes too much.
Yeah. Out of this.
But I sound more like Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
He hates himself.
Look at what he did next.
A second time that I heard it, and then I was starting to think, well, is this a band song?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a Dylan song? Did he write all these songs?
Yeah.
And it's a little fuzzy. You look through it, you just see that it was so impromptu that Dylan ends up getting credit, for most of these songs. But by the time you get to the first, band album, Big Pink,
Mm-hmm.
it's Wheels on Fire. I mean, it
Tears of
saturates,
Rage.
yeah. It saturates them so much that it, you're essentially doing just kind of a jam. Let's
Yeah.
just throw things together, and then it solidifies the roadmap for a very creative band unto themselves.
Uh-huh.
It's like they would have been great without Dylan, but not that great.
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think he was the spark for them, and interesting how their music formed into this like Americana.
Right.
And except for Levon Helm, they were all from Canada,
Right. Oh, yeah.
And they kind of evolved into this. They were this kind of road band that toured with this front man, and they were called the Hawks, right?
Yeah.
Ronnie Hawkins
Ronnie
and the
Hawkins,
Hawks,
yeah.
and then they became Dylan's backing band, and then they just became like this country rock, like Americana, with the first couple albums that a lot of bands point to today. And so that was, when I heard that, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, thanks. But to get this album is to sort of hear the influence on some of the most influential albums ever made.
Right.
And you'll hear these songs. You'll hear Tears of Rage.
Mhm.
You'll hear what those were. And realize how the voice that Dylan adopts there is, he's not selling anything yet.
No.
You know, when if he's doing his country album, he takes on a voice, so
Very
he can sing
different
"Lay
voice.
Lady Lay."
Yeah.
He always says that he stopped smoking, and that's why he is experimenting with that sound here, and so anyone who loves all this other stuff that came from that, it's wonderful to dip your toe into this very eclectic, moving music. There's some things that are very emotional.
Yes.
There's some completely silly silliness, but song per song, I could kind of feel the energy that they had.
Right.
And then you wonder, well, why didn't they turn this thing out? Well, it was never meant to be.
And what did he do after this? He left the band. He went to, I think, Nashville and recorded John Wesley Harding, which features none of these songs. Like,
Right.
they're all brand new songs
Yeah.
that weren't even rehearsed ahead of time. So, I mean, and he did all that within like the space of a year, I think. So, I mean, that just shows the genius of Dylan, but it's also like he just kind of reworked himself, and then he was never the same after this, right?
It's like the Freedom.
Yeah.
It's like the Freedom album or something else disconnected from the commerce of music. And certainly he was already very successful.
Absolutely.
And a very ambitious person who wants to have hit songs. He wants to be in the public eye. And then those things happen. And he goes, I don't want to be in the public eye.
Right.
I'm not some writer for anybody's generation. I'm a song and dance man. The person that he was trying to discover in himself. Who am I as a songwriter? What's the subject matter? Well, the subject matter is as broad as all this country. And this is what the real great, Gail Marcus books about him kind of look at that old weird America that, it's put in Marcus's language. But if you read that as a side commentary to this, you get sort of Marcus's view of the impact of this music. But if you want to go to the source, the source of this is what he's experimenting with and seeking out by song. And you would think, the first time you hear it, you would think that these are just old covers, all of them.
Yeah. I think maybe less than 10 years ago, there was a group that came together and they took some of the other Basement songs and they wrote new songs, like based on some of the lyrics. Because they keep finding things. A lot of these were just sitting around in Garth Hudson's like possession, and they were on like literally on the tapes because he was the one operating the tape deck. So like luckily he saved everything, and they were able to capture these tapes and save them and then give us. And they sound good. I mean, they don't sound like it's just a microphone stuck, in the back of an amp or something, and just capturing. It's like you feel like you're right there in the room with them.
Yeah.
Watching what's going on, and it's interesting to read like who's playing what instrument and who's doing what. I always like how they give you like the books with all the pictures, and there's, I love this picture too, where it's just kind of the sun and you don't see his face, and right, and so, but you get like a pretty comprehensive background on all the songs and who plays what, and there's some commentary on what they are, and a lot of it talks about like what you're saying is that these songs are more rootsy than the stuff he was playing when he first started.
It's a great picture in the front there.
Yeah. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how he looked, and it's different if you watch the documentary and he was touring. I mean, he's no longer tired. He looks a lot different. Like he definitely put on some weight. Looks healthier.
Yeah.
He has a family. He kind of get up in the morning and have his coffee, and then the band would come over and they get to work. So it wasn't anything that was rushed or.
That's a good picture of the band there too. So
So,
they're out in front of Big Pink there.
And you could still, Big Pink is still there, and it's actually an Airbnb. You could stay there.
Oh,
I think for $600 a night. But
Oh.
and it's so crazy to me too. Again, like when he did this, there was like the world outside of where he was at. It was war protests. People were singing about peace and love.
Right.
Some of the greatest like debut albums or just albums in general came out the same year. Jimi Hendrix did the Sgt. Pepper. You had the Summer of Love. Everything was happening, and yet he was making something that went completely the opposite direction, that acted as if none of those things even mattered or were happening, right? And luckily we still have them today. They're preserved like all of the other, bootleg series. They're all preserved.
Yeah,
They're just as good as the albums, right?
Some folks get maybe tired of reissues of stuff or recombinations of stuff, but
This doesn't get old.
yeah, it doesn't get old. And wait 20 years when those aren't in print anymore, and they want $4 billion for for the vinyl version of this, when really you just want to hear the song. I mean, if you listen to it,
Yeah.
and you're a fan of anything from that era, this will grow in importance over time.
Definitely.
But it's sort of reorienting yourself to kind of core musical value.
Right. And I mean, think about this is probably the first, think about all the alternative bands that we've had, but this is probably the first lo-fi type of record, where how many bands said all I need is a 4-track
Right.
and a mic, and it's the basic setup wherever in the house I can get it, and I can make my own music. And that's what they did. They didn't have a studio. It was really literally the reel-to-reel recorder with the microphone set up. And then you think about all the other music that came after this, because the 70s, of course, had a lot of the studio trickery, and you had albums that cost thousands of dollars to make. Right. Then you have something like this where people today still look at it and said, I don't need all that. I can do this on my own.
Mm-hmm. I had a wonderful class in Valley College, and it was a history of art.
Oh, yeah.
And, Mr. Fox, he would just put things, this is painting, he said, this is why it's beautiful as this. And then he would go backwards. But this was influenced by this. And this is the cave painting where
it's all related.
Yeah, this cave painting where they figured out where to put a floor line, so that there was gravity to the thing. It wasn't just floating in space. And he sees the same beauty in this ground line or in these cave paintings. It's the most intricate Michelangelo. Yeah. So they're all cut from the same cloth.
Absolutely. This owes a debt to everything, and it borrows from everybody. Yeah. So it shows you that's kind of nothing is done in isolation. Nothing is truly as original as we think it is. Yeah. It's kind of funneled through whatever artist at the time is interpreting that song. In this case, it's a couple artists, 5 or 6 people doing this stuff. And this is kind of where it starts for a lot of people, too. Yeah.
So we would probably give this at least a thumbs up.
Absolutely. Yeah. 5 stars. And this is a good Dylan birthday pick. So recent, 83rd birthday. If someone were to say, give me some Dylan that I haven't really heard of, that's not on the regular album, I would definitely point him in this direction too. This out. Please pick a copy of this up. If you're not going to buy the vinyl, you can stream it or you can pick up the CD. It's great for a road trip. It's also good if you're just sitting at home, on a Friday night and you want something different. So we will see you again very soon on Dylan Box. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Chris.
And thank you so much. See you soon.
We will fight you from the mountains, and we will fight you in the streets, and we will fight you in the valleys. You cannot take what isn't yours, and we will fight your goons and lawyers, and we will fight your Pinkertons, and we will fight your bought off congressman. You cannot take what isn't yours. So la da 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 and we will take you from your mansions, we'll burn your towers to the ground, and you will reap the whirlwind that you sow. You cannot take what isn't yours. So la da 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 la 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 da 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 da. Yes, we will fight you from our houses, and we will fight you in the streets, and we will fight you in the valley. You cannot take what isn't yours. No, you can't take what isn't yours.
In these segments, we look at mixing up the medicine. It's very fun, but very heavy. Compendium of artifacts from the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This time we look at Eat the Document. It's on page 257 in the book, if you're following along. When they finished Don't Look Back, that was an artistic success, and Albert Grossman, Dylan's manager, decided that it would be a good idea to continue this visual medium, and he went to the executives at ABC, who had a new series that was called Stage 67, kind of an arts and culture show that would feature an artist each segment. You know, it was Lauren Bacall or Ingrid Bergman or Robert Mitchum, and they sold them the idea that there would be a similar film from Dylan. Well, they hired D.A. Pennebaker to come back and direct this new tour. They were direct filming this new tour, and they go around, they get this footage, and they get 70,000 feet of footage, and he puts together something that was probably similar to Don't Look Back, where it's sort of just the tour and the story in the tour. And Dylan was more interested in having and weaving some connective tissue, an underlying drama that would carry the film along. And so out goes Pennebaker, and Dylan and a handful of folks get together, and they're going to re-edit this large amount of footage into a narrative. ABC saw their final result. Either they just passed on it completely, or they conveniently said, well, Stage 67 is being shut down. We don't need Eat the Document. One of the fun parts in the book is just looking at this yellow one-page sheet of Dylan's notes about what they were going to film next, and who was going this way, who was turning left, who was turning right, but very scarce ideas. But he kind of showed his thinking. Then there's a little document, a little tiny piece of paper that has the name and address for Alfred Hitchcock. And one wonders if somehow they were going to try to get Hitchcock to come in and, create even deeper drama that would hook Eat the Document together. So the film was only shown once in 1972 in a Academy of Music in New York City, the only screening, and has never been seen again for the last 50 years. But it does remind me the process of taking real footage of a real tour and creating a narrative underneath. Doesn't this remind us a little bit of the Rolling Thunder Review by Martin Scorsese and Dylan? So maybe Eat the Document lives.
Bad news came to me where I sleep. Turn again. Said one of your friends is in trouble to the rain and the wind. Walked down the highway and I heard his door slam. Turn, turn, turn again. And I walked down the courthouse and I didn't understand. Turn, turn to the rain and the wind. And I played my guitar through the night to the day. Turn, turn, turn again. The only tune my guitar could play was old cruel rain and the wind. The wind. The
If you're traveling in the North Country Fair, where the winds blow heavy on the borderline, remember me to one who lives there, for she once was a true love of mine. Please see for me that her hair grows long. It rolls and flows all down her breast. Please see for me that her hair grows long, for that's the way I remember her best. I wonder if she remembers me at all. Oftentimes I've sat and prayed in the darkness of my nights, in the stillness of my day. If you're traveling in the North Country Fair, where the winds blow heavy on the borderline, remember me to one who lives there, for she once was a true love of mine.
do.